St Johnstone do the double, Killie go down and Kelty join the big time, Ross County turn from a feel-good survival story to an embarrassment, joining the joke of Celtic Football Club. It's episode 23 of the False United podcast. With me today we've got Andy, Lewis and Marcus. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Pretty good.
In agony. Celtic Football Club. Don't support them.
I'm really glad I was brought up right.
We'll move on to Celtic's embarrassing behaviour later on, but we'll start with the Scottish Cup final. A 1-0 win for St Johnstone. Sean Rooney at the back coast in the 32nd minute. Exactly what happened in the League Cup final as well against Livingston. But Marcus, do you want to take the Cup final?
No. Yeah, I mean, it was always going to be the kind of game where the team that scored first was going to go on to win it. It is a cliche, but it's true. Like, we just can't break St Johnstone down in general. So as soon as they scored, like, I kind of just didn't pay attention to it because I knew they'd just see it at 1-0 and we did. It was a scandalous performance from our point of view. It's a bit of an anomaly. I've got an explanation as to why I think it's happened as well. But I don't buy into this whole we've played bad football. Like not every team is going to play swashbuckling football every week. And we've managed to play good football whenever the game has allowed us to. And then, like, football is a bit more complex than just playing good football every single match. Like, whenever we've had to grind out results, when we've been playing, like, tough teams like Killie or Dundee United, we've done it. Not been pretty games, but we've done it, you know? It's, I fully think that, and also that the reaction from Hibs fans as well, it's like, it's so, they're so fickle, like, honestly. Like, it's same happened with a semi-final, same happened with a game against Hearts, and like wanting Jack Ross booted and that, like, when a week ago or a week before the final it was all, you know, this could be one of our best seasons ever and all that. Like, if you're one match away for having one of your best seasons, you know, in the last 20-30 years, like, we're obviously not far away. There's not, you know, I fully think, like, or I hope that another summer transfer window. But yeah, I could. So I've got a wee explanation into, like, kind of the Hibs play style and why it didn't work. So should I go into
at the moment, Hibs fans? Yeah.
Should I go into that now, or do we want to talk about the actual match first?
There's not really much to talk about, really, because
it was a boring second half.
Yeah,
it was a 1-0 goal up. All right, let's see the match out kind of game. I mean, it's what you expect for a cup final. I mean, the last few cup finals for years have all been 1-0ers.
Well, I think this was the first.
3-2.
This is the first time in history that the FA Cup final in England, the English League Cup final, the Scottish League Cup final, and the Scottish Cup final have all ended 1-0.
Yeah.
My thing with Hibs is
this COVID season's been bizarre. So
yeah, I mean, it totally different with fans in a packed Hampden. You know, with 35 odd thousand, I think Hibs fans would have been there because they wouldn't have sold out the full half. So, but I was saying that the style of play, like, I think our problem is that we've got half the toolbox, but we don't have all the tools yet. Is my kind of analogy. We've got the tools to break down teams when they play expansive football. So, for example, like a good thing is like that. So the 3-0 away at Motherwell in December, Lewis, if you remember that game, you played perfectly against us in the first half because you really denied us the space in the back, you know, to run in behind. You doubled up in Martin Boyle, which cut him out of the game, and then we had nothing else pretty much. You know, Nisbet and Doidge couldn't run into space and all that. So, and then I don't know why, but second half, you just reverted to, like, I don't know, you just stopped marking Boyle and then just, like, came out as if you were trying to attack, and then handed us a 3-0 win, and that really shows, like, the deficiencies in our play, but also our strengths. Like, when Martin Boyle has space to run into, and when Josh Doig has space to run into in the left, and if you give us, room in the flanks, we'll go and punish you. But St Johnstone just are kryptonite. Honestly, their style of football is our kryptonite this season because we have nothing in terms of breaking down a low block like that, especially when it's so organised.
Hibs seem to struggle against anti-football.
Yeah. And it's been a trope for ages that we have struggled against kind of teams that, like Aberdeen. Derek McInnes' Aberdeen is another really good example of the team we always struggled against with that style of football. But I fully think that. Obviously, Hibs fans were like, but if you put in Darren McGregor for Porteous, I don't think one player solves a poor team performance. But if we want to start breaking down teams that play like that, then we need Scott Allen.
Yeah, I was about to say Scott Allen is the type of person who can unlock a defense like that. He can play the killer balls. He can play.
And the other thing is the criticism that our players are getting. I was pretty sick with that performance. One of the poorest of the season, definitely up there with the other Hampden games, if you want, the cup games, I guess. But no, I don't. It just depends on the summer transfer window, and it depends on the start to next season. In all honesty, I'm not going to lose my head over it so far. But it is very disappointing. If we're talking about a chance to win a cup, we're probably not going to get a better chance for 4 seed. You never know. So it is bitterly disappointing. But no, the criticism though, people saying boot Irvin, Newell. People putting Newell in their team of the season, and then a week later after the final saying that they never rated him. It's I don't know, get some perspective. It's not like footballers don't try. I guess it was a gutless performance, yeah, but they don't go on there thinking I want to lose today. It's
they're not going to deliberately put a bad shift in, but fans can never really see that.
It's Jack Ross has said he wants to make Hibs a project, so I fully think I don't know. We'll see what he does when we're timed. But Gerrard needed 3 seasons to build this.
3 seasons.
Yeah, it's totally. On the one hand, I can say, and it's part of my argument. So, but it's totally unreasonable to expect Rome to be built in a day. But at the same time, like I said, it is such a good chance to win a trophy. But the unfortunate thing is that Joey Canny, teams like St Johnstone, we don't have all the tools. Like I said, Jackson Irvin has really helped us in the midfield, sort of the second half of the season in terms of being creative, but he doesn't play in the hole though. He's a box to box who can sort of create, who can kind of play hold up when he needs to. But people saying he doesn't create enough in midfield. There's some Hibs dads that think that a midfielder is a midfielder and they don't know the difference between different midfield roles. So you can't. I fully think next season we should be looking to play a kind of a double pivot with Gogic and Irvin, and then having Scott Allen just sitting behind the 2 strikers, and that would be so much more effective in those kind of situations. But I'm just trying to look at it really rationally. Obviously, if you'd asked me Saturday, it would have been a different answer. But in terms of a footballing point of view, that's my explanation as to why Hibs have been ineffective in that game and in other games of this season in terms of those kind of matches against St Johnstone. But
I just want to jump in there. Obviously, you're saying that you've got Hibs fans who want to play McGregor over Porteous.
Yeah, which I think he should have played, but I think it's unrealistic to think that one change would have won us the match.
Porteous is I think I totally get the whole thing that people were saying. If you'd played obviously 2 kind of veteran centre backs at the back, it's a wee bit they're more organised. But Porteous has to learn. And then
the main point was that Darren McGregor is much better in the air, more composed on the ball pretty much than Porteous. Doesn't give away silly mistakes. Against a tall team like St Johnstone, you want commanding centre backs in the air. Paul Hanlon isn't an aerial centre back. Porteous isn't really, like McGregor wins every ball comes into him, and he was fantastic against Celtic, and they can say the same. He was absolutely unreal against Celtic, and then the week before against Aberdeen, no, not the week, well, midweek against Aberdeen, he was unreal as well. So his form probably merited the start for McGregor, and just the kind of team we were coming up against, a tall, but like I say, like if it's McGregor instead of Doig that's marking Rooney for that, then he's maybe not winning it as easily, but yeah, it's still disappointing. But yeah, I'm trying not to lose my head over it. But the pressure will be building in Jack Ross, because like fans will not see this as a good season. I don't think. Like finishing third, yeah, but
I mean, objectively, third,
objectively,
a cup final and a cup
right,
semi-final is a really good season.
It's just the bitter taste of it's the three cup competitions in one season, and going out every one of these as playing as badly as we did in every single one.
Yeah,
it's the manner of the performances in all three games. The Hearts one was actually the least worst one, if it makes sense, because I don't think we played all too badly. We were kind of unlucky with chances, and it came down to 2 penalties in the end. But the two against St Johnstone were just pathetic, absolutely disgusting performances from a Hibs point of view. So yeah, but I've probably rambled on long enough, and I don't want to. We've got probably Saints fans listen to this as well, thinking that I'm giving it too much of a Hibs point of view, but I can't really help it. I'm a Hibs fan, so. But yeah, I'll try not to lose my head over it, and we'll see what happens next season. Just hope we have a strong summer. But hope we can cement third again next season, and hopefully try and win a cup.
Going from a Saints point of view, though, like they're the first team to win a double, a cup double that isn't Celtic or Rangers since Aberdeen in 1990. Yeah. So that's an amazing. It's an amazing achievement for. I think it's the third lowest budget in the league. I think I read it or something like that. Which is an amazing achievement. They'll play Europa League football next season. I think the way the coefficients work, that if Chelsea win the Champions League, they'll go straight into the group stage.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Just to say, I don't have a shred of bitterness or anger aimed at St Johnstone. Like, fair play to them. Like, at least it wasn't Celtic or Rangers winning another cup.
Yeah.
It's so good to see them. It's so good to see, as well, like an up and coming Scottish manager doing really well. Like, I'm really happy for them. I'm just, all my anger and bitterness is directed at my own club for that performance.
St Johnstone. Callum Davidson, that's his first year in management. He's won 2 cups.
He's won a third. He's won 2/3 now of all of St Johnstone's major honours
in history
in one season. In history, in one. That's mental.
And the scenes of celebration of him sliding across the Hampden changing rooms, I thought that was quite fun. Hitting his head on the door.
Aye,
that's great. And Hampden will still smell of beer and champagne by the time the Euros come along. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. I wonder if Perth City Centre will get trashed up, or if it was. I don't think it was, but
by all 4 of the inhabitants of Perth.
Yeah, all 4 St Johnstone fans. You know what I really hope happens though is that like they're one of the clubs that have a really unimpressive home support. I don't think their away support's that bad, but you want to see more people. Like these clubs, you want to see Motherwell and Killie and that. You want to see more people going
Perth
along.
is one of those cities that's a rugby city, though.
Yeah. No, totally.
And the thing is, as well, is that the St Johnstone Stadium, it's a walk from the centre of Perth. It's a long way. It's literally on a junction outside the city.
But you just hope it can be the catalyst to, your team's doing well, get along to the ground.
Yeah.
Even if you're not necessarily into football, surely there's an ounce of pride for,
I think the success should attract people from the surrounding areas.
You hope so, because the Scottish League's only get more. Again, it's only going to get stronger if these kind of clubs get local support.
Especially if we get one of the bumper TV deals promised.
Yeah, I mean it is all just. The major source of income for these clubs is ticket revenue. So the more they get, we can't just rely on TV deals because the SFA are useless when it comes to that. So
to play catch up to the other leagues we do.
Yeah. So you just need to improve attendances all across the board. It would help if people didn't support their team based on religious reasons or anything or political reasons. But that's that's the state of Scottish football at the minute. But no, like I said, hopefully,
I think it's more politics based on which football club you support, which is more the issue.
I think it's a bit of both. It feeds into each other,
Yeah, I think one feeds the other kind of thing, and the other way around. But moving on now, we'll move from Perth to Kilmarnock, where they are relegated. They're down. They lost the second leg of the playoffs, 4-2 on aggregate, and Dundee returns to the Premiership after a 2-year stint in the Championship. You guys watch the second leg?
I saw the highlights. I mean, Kilmarnock were off the pace is an understatement. I mean, I don't think they even had threatened Dundee. Barely had a shot at the ball. Their goal was a bit of a stinker.
The penalty.
Yeah, there was nothing they could have done. They were doomed as soon as they kicked the ball for kickoff at the start of the game. Their fate was sealed. And it just seems the club has just fallen into disarray since Steve Clarke took the Scotland gig. And I think it was only a matter of time. I mean, as soon as we saw them in that precarious position once it got to about the halfway point of the season, then Tommy Wright comes in, and he's not exactly a steady the ship kind of manager. So I think it was only inevitable that we were going to lose them. I
think we were saying that Tommy Wright's more of a project manager. Like, see what he did with St Johnstone a few years back. He was there for a long time. He's not like the Scottish Big Sam to come in.
No, exactly.
Save a club from relegation and then move on. I don't think there is a.
It's good that they're sticking with him, so he can actually they'll do a Hearts and kind of consolidate themselves down there. They'll maybe give you. Well, yeah, I mean, do what Hearts did maybe when they got relegated the first time around. Like they played youth players, gave them experience, and then they came back up pretty strong. Like that's what they should be looking to do. So yeah, probably sticking with Tommy Wright's correct thing at the moment.
That's if he wants to stick it out. He could go.
I thought he said he was staying. So I thought they came out and said, "Yeah, I'm sticking for next season." But
I know it's just that obviously the mass manager exodus yesterday across all of Scottish football seemed to shake things up.
I think on the sort of the side of that Killie game, not on the side of it, sorry, on the back of that, I think all credit needs to go to Kyle Lafferty. Not so much for his performance in game, but he was the only person to come out from that Kilmarnock dressing room after an angry mob of fans had sort of gathered to protest against the club going down and kind of demonstrate their anger. And he basically came out and said that, admitted that the team have been shit all season, and that obviously the fans are like, we are hurting and this is a disgrace. And he was like, well, it's done. And our kit man, who's supported the club for 30 years, is now crying in the dressing room. So you've got to kind of, he basically came out and said, like, we know how you're feeling, but it's unchangeable. But I think there's still some credit's got to go to him for at least coming out and going, what's done's done. Let's look forward to next season and get ourselves back up. It wasn't like, he wasn't shying away for the fact that they've not been good all season. Because, I mean, when you look at the Kilmarnock team that got into Europe with Steve Clarke, things were on the up. And then they bring in Alessio, who couldn't speak English very well, and kind of started to pull that squad apart. Alex Dyer put it back together, and then it started to break apart again.
I didn't think Alessio was the problem, though. I mean, we were saying in the chat the other day, like, they were sitting fifth with him.
It was still a good finish.
I think it's the fact that Kilmarnock's fans had after seeing what Steve Clarke did, Kilmarnock fans had their expectations up, which means that Alessio was judged a lot harder than he should have been, and then was sacked way too early. Because yes, they lost to Connah's Quay Nomads in the Europa League. Yeah, that's a bad result. But other than that, he did a pretty decent job with them.
Like sitting
It's
fifth,
kinda-
like that's still a good season for Killie. Just because they're no. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they maybe got ideas above their post a bit. But,
It's kind of like what happened to Motherwell this season. Obviously, you get that third place finish behind the Old Firm, and then everyone kind of judged Stephen Robinson, thinking that, okay, well now Motherwell consistently deserve top 3 football, but players left, and then more pressure piles up on the manager, and when you start to lose games, eventually, obviously, he walks. And it's very much the same at Kilmarnock. They had a good season. Players either left or just kind of went on a dip in form, and the club naturally just started to go down. But they reached a point where it's just like the club was on a massive downward spiral, and unlucky for them, they came up against a really resurgent Dundee team. That Dundee team's really good, to be fair.
they've gotten better as the season's gone on, I think.
Charlie Adams, I mean, he's not a spring chicken, but he's totally put a fire in the belly of that Dundee team. That Dundee team were not doing very well up until about December, and then came out of nowhere to go into the top 3 of the Scottish Championship. That's absolutely nowhere.
Charlie Adam must have put in some speeches in the change rooms.
Must have.
He's absolutely fired them into form.
35 years
That
old.
Aye, but that Dundee team, I really think this Dundee team's going to come up and surprise a lot of people. I really think that they. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the relegation slots next season. I really think that they might be a Dundee United and kind of sit in that comfortable sort of 7th, 8th position. But then that puts more pressure on clubs like Ross County,
County St Mirren,
and Livingston and St Mirren. Yeah.
I think it'll be Livingston and County will be the two that everyone will be looking at, because I think St Mirren are getting a lot stronger. I agree in that I don't think Dundee will be anywhere close.
St Mirren, I think, will have some good player retention this summer.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't see Livingston expanding on what they've done.
And they've looked pretty poor, kind of since.
You always get the curse of that manager who has quite a good season.
Yeah.
And then has a collapse the next season because he loses a couple of key players.
Yeah. One thing's for sure, I'm excited about next season in the Premiership because you've got the Dundee Derby, you've got the Edinburgh Derby, and obviously the Old Firm as well. It's going to be quite exciting in terms of big games.
Yeah, I mean the last Dundee derbies that were on the telly of class, the 6-2 was amazing to watch as a neutral.
Yeah,
Dundee derbies are always really good games. Like, you never get a boring Dundee derby, I'll give them that. And it's no disrespect to either you, Marcus and Sam, but there's sometimes that the Edinburgh derby is a bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah, you know what, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Everyone's too scared to go out and play football in the Edinburgh Derby. They're always 1-0ers, and it's always...
They're never good games of football, I'll give you that.
No, exactly.
It's just pure...
Do you remember the one we went to a few seasons ago, the sack race, Heckingbottom Levine?
Aye.
God, that was a stinker. That's possibly one of the worst games of football I've watched.
Was that the one with
just
Aaron Hickey scoring?
Aaron Hickey.
Yeah, Aaron Hickey, aye.
But the atmosphere tops everything, though.
Yeah,
I'll give you the atmosphere. I will give you the atmosphere.
Yeah,
well, you need to come to one. You need to come to one first, Lewis.
There was that 0-0 that me and Marcus went to at Tynecastle. The worst game I've ever seen, but then it was lighting up with the whole Lenny situation at the end. We got.
As a Spurs
I'd say
fan,
you can hear it, but Hearts have got 2 fans.
As a Spurs fan, you said that it was 10 times the atmosphere in North London as well. And everyone down south goes on about that one as if it's the best in the country, in the UK. And it's clearly not.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, but I think the Premier League is a completely different topic. How the Premier League is kind of sterilised.
Yeah,
I do think, and and sort of on the flip side of that, like I do think that the whole problem with the Capital Derby for the last couple of seasons has been the managers that have been in charge at both clubs. Levine played boring football. Lennon played boring football at Hibs.
No, he didn't.
And
Lennon played Lennon football is what happened.
Lennon
football,
played.
yeah.
Lennon played. We were like 5-3 and 5-5. Like at the end of that this season we came up. It was very, very fun to watch.
But it's
the season he got
the
sacked,
style of
not
football. Like the style of football has always been quite boring in these games.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much with Lennon, slightly more exciting, but like Heckenbottom was boring football, and Levine's boring football. So like they are the most boring games you could watch. But I'm kind of hoping that obviously I like the tactics of Jack Ross, and depending on whether Hearts hang on to Robbie Nielsen or not, I don't know. I feel like they will, because Hearts, like the Hearts board, never listen to the fans.
The thing is,
how many times
Nielsen literally got them up, whether they had some embarrassing defeats or not. They literally went back up on the first time of asking. So,
but there's a lot of Hearts fans. Like there's a lot of Hearts fans for me in work, and they always say like it's nice that we got promoted from the Championship, but he's the worst Hearts manager they've ever seen.
Wow.
Because what they say
Craig
is
Levine in
it's
about
like,
4 stints.
they've had Craig Levine, but there's a lot of Hearts fans think that Nielsen's worse than Levine, and the whole reason is because they think that it's. I know it's a bit of a weird statement when you consider
they do come
how
out
bad
with some
Levine
weird
is.
statements. They do tend to come
They're
out
a
with
weird bunch.
Yeah.
But I think what they're arguing is it's like they're winning games, but it's like really boring football that just wins games. And then obviously compiled on top of that sort of defeat to Broder Rangers, but
the worst result in the club's history.
I think Dundee United would have done better if Nielsen had stayed at them. He would have played a style that would have helped them probably climb the table a bit more than they did this season. Because now Mickey Mellon's gone his way, maybe they can tempt him back.
Even United fans said that Nielsen's style of football wasn't particularly impressive in the Championship. They were just helped by Shanklin's goals.
So is it the same for Hearts then? Is it just that they've been helped by Liam Boyce?
And they've been held back by Nielsen, absolutely.
You know, there seems to be a thing at Hearts just now where, much sort of like Arsenal down south, it's like it's not so much that the fans have a problem with their manager, it's the board.
It's the board for
Budge has been detrimental to their lack of success.
There's a whole thing now that it's like they want rid of. Not only do they want rid of Robbie Nielsen, they also want Budgie to go as well.
They've wanted Budgie out since the Craig Levine drama and protests and that.
Aye, well they've been going for years about getting rid of Anne Budge, but the thing is, who are they going to get back? Like, who are they going to bring in? Because look at Vladimir Romanov ruined
they're going to have to wait till the foundation takes over, and I think it's like scheduled to be, I don't even know, you'll have to ask a Jambo, but like the end of this year or next year maybe. So like there's no point, like they're stuck with Budge until they hand over to the Foundation of Hearts pretty much. So
see, it's either they're going to, but I mean, you've got to think, are they going to hand it over to the Foundation of Hearts, or are the Foundation of Hearts going to have to take over like the club?
What do you mean? I mean, I don't think they could legally take over, but that's in what way take over?
I mean, like are they going to have to put enough pressure on Budge that she walks, or is she just going to give them the club? Because I feel like,
I don't
they're
know.
Going to have to put pressure
I don't see in what way the foundation could put them under pressure. I think they're under enough. You know what? It would be good to get a Jambo on, like either Kyle or my pal Keith as well, to actually talk about that. Maybe if we ever get one of them on in the future, they can.
I'd like to hear what they think, because all I've heard for the last season is that they want rid of Robbie Nielsen and they want rid of Anne Budge, but
But no, but the handover to the foundation is happening at some point. It's a matter of when, and I think it's been held back by COVID because I'm pretty sure it was meant to happen last summer. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
We'll be moving on now from one set of Hearts to another as Kelty Hearts are promoted to League Two. They beat Brecon City 3-1 on aggregate in the Pyramid playoff, and so they'll be into League Two, which is
There's more of them.
There's more. Yeah, there's more teams from the Lowlands and the Highland League coming up.
More Jambos.
More Jambos as well. Yeah.
All credit to them. Like, they were a team that everyone had sort of heard of, purely, I think, because they were managed by Barry Ferguson, who's now at Alloa.
Yeah, he's left and joined Alloa. Yeah.
Left and joined Alloa, which is a good step up for him. But I mean, a club like Kelty Hearts to be in League Two is really good for them.
Yeah.
They join a long list of clubs who have come up from the Lowlands and the Highland League through that playoff in recent times, like Edinburgh City, Cove Rangers, are the ones that come to mind, and they're kind of replacing the teams that kind of been really kind of mismanaged in terms of the way they play the football or financially, and those teams are going down to a place kind of where they should belong. But the establishment
definitely.
The establishment has kind of kept them in the league system, but now they're going down to the non-league system, and kind of where they should belong. And these teams are coming up, and it's good to see some new faces in the leagues.
It's not even at this side of the pyramid though as well. Like, even way far down the pyramid in non-league football, what you're finding is you're getting a lot of junior sides are now joining a Super League. It's not like a Super League like the European Super League.
Of course, yeah.
But these junior sides are joining like leagues, the likes of sort of in my area, Linlithgow Rose, and Baldhouse United and Blackburn. I think it's Blackburn Athletic or something.
Yeah.
These three teams have always played Scottish Cup. Like, they're eligible for the Scottish Cup. But there's now like other teams like Armadale Thistle, Bathgate Thistle, and there's another one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of these like non-league teams, like that are just junior amateur sides, are now moving towards trying to get SFA licenses
to get into the system,
to get into the system. So it seems to be like Scottish football's getting a change in dynamic, where I feel like we're going to get to that sort of FA Cup sort of stage, like England, where any team can play FA Cup football as long as they get through the preliminary rounds. Like, for example, like hashtag United sort of style.
You saw Marine FC play Spurs, didn't you, in the third round back in January in the English FA Cup? So like that's a feel good story that we want to see in the Scottish Cup as well.
I mean, the last time I think I seen a sort of junior league side play in the Scottish Cup against a team that were like really far up, I think would have probably been Linlithgow Rose playing, I think it was Ross County.
Yeah, the Broxburn played St Mirren as well. They filled the away end as well. They did really well.
Yeah.
That was like last season's Scottish Cup.
Yeah, there was one for a couple of seasons
and then
ago as well.
Look at BRC Glasgow playing Hibs.
Oh, I as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't make it to that one, but that looked well. We didn't play well, but still.
Another club that has pulled off a few shots in the Scottish Cup from kind of down the leagues is Auckland Lake Talbot as well.
I forgot about them. Yeah, they not beat.
They played Hearts. No, they played Hearts a couple of seasons ago.
I had to Google because I couldn't remember who it was, but yeah.
They knocked out Ayr as well.
I'm sure they knocked out Kilmarnock. Was it Ayr or Kilmarnock?
Yeah, they knocked out Ayr, and then they built it as an Ayrshire derby, and then they ended up knocking them out.
But I'm sure that
wouldn't have been Killie.
I'm sure Auchinleck played. Hold on.
They played Hearts and.
Yeah, they drew with. It was like a two-legged game. I'm sure. Yeah, that was it. It was in the Scottish Cup. They drew 1-1, but then got beat 3-1 in a replay.
There was
Man,
one
so
So
as-
you
Yeah.
get all these nice stories, and then Kelty Hearts just add to that now, because now you're going to see a team that have just come up from the Lowland League.
Hmm.
Sorry, no, Kelty Highland League or Lowland League.
They
Lowland
came
League.
from the Lowland League because they beat Borough.
Lowland, they're
didn't
from
they?
Fife.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And what,
Kelty's in Fife, yeah.
somehow or another, I've been to Kelty as well, so I know the way or how to get there for a City away day.
But it'll be really
Like it's
nice to see them in a League Cup as well. Like, obviously, to see them in the Premier Sports Cup next season.
Yeah, they've had to call in what 3 non-league teams for the League Cup this season coming up, because there's 5 Scottish teams in Europe. Obviously, they don't compete in the group stage.
So, who's the non-league teams that have been called in then?
The non-league teams who will be in the League Cup, we've got East Kilbride, Broad Rangers, and Brechin, who will be there next season in the League Cup.
See, that'll be nice as well, because then you can have some like surprise stories, maybe.
Yeah, so Brechin in a group with Livingston, Raith, Aluear, and Cowdenbeath. Boreham with Ross County, Dundee, Forfar, and Montrose, and East Kilbride in with Kilmarnock, Morton, Clyde, and Stranraer. And the only one of our clubs that are in those groups as well is Motherwell, and they've got Queen of the South, Airdrie, Annan, and Queen's Park.
Air dry.
oh my god, that guy.
I'm really happy about this. Like, mainly because the Motherwell social media team have really tried to wind up Hamilton today by saying that the big derby is back. Because the Lanarkshire derby is technically Airdrie against Motherwell. Or,
That wee
Like,
boy's
that's
passed
always-
his driving test though, so
that was funny.
we're having a street party in Hamilton because of that. Eh?
Oh, that was one of the funniest tweets of the week. Tweet of the week goes to Hamilton Ackies for that wee boy passing his driving test. But
We just everyone
No,
here at
it's-
False Nighties wishes that I can't mind his name, but well done in passing your driving test.
no, like for me, I've never seen Motherwell play Airdrie, like never. But you always get the stories from your Motherwell dads. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, I mind when we used to play Airdrie all the time, and it just to kick off quite a bit.
The last time that Motherwell played Airdrie was in the Scottish Cup in 2006-07, and Motherwell won 1-0.
I thought it would have been longer, but yeah.
But yeah,
It has been a while.
It's been 14 years.
Obviously, the clubs used to consistently meet in the old Scottish system when we were in the first division.
I wanted to move on quickly to Celtic and the fact that they have failed to agree to terms with Eddie Howe, and now the entire finding a manager thing is all up in the air. Andy, do you want to? I was going to get your thoughts on this.
Look, it was by the fact that it had taken so long to maneuver this deal, it was bound to fall through. You know, I was more surprised that it hadn't fallen through sooner. But what annoys me the most is Celtic bookmarked Eddie Howe, their number one transfer target. You know, they told him he's number one. They've put all these papers out. You know, they talked to papers. They let people know how the deal was going, and then they released a statement today. Eddie Howe was in Glasgow. He was spotted in Glasgow today. The Record released a statement saying Eddie Howe will sign as manager today at noon, and noon goes by, and then it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock, the paper comes out saying Eddie Howe has rejected personal terms with Celtic. The deal's fallen through, and they said it was out with both parties' control. Now, if a deal is so fragile that something out with both parties' control can go ahead, then why didn't it fall through sooner? You know, what was it? Apparently, the board weren't offering him the money required, and also his backroom staff were ineligible. Like, a lot of them didn't want to move to Glasgow, and some didn't want to leave Bournemouth, despite Bournemouth not getting promoted. And so this whole hullabaloo has really just like stemmed from the fact that why were Celtic only pursuing one manager? You know, their post said they're going to resume the manager search, which means do they not have other bookmarked targets? You know, that they could have talked to and said Howe, and also they put all their eggs in one basket for Howe. That whoever comes next after him is going to know they're not the first choice. You know, like it's such a disaster at this point that a club has waited 100 days to appoint a new manager. Plenty of clubs in Scotland now have appointed. I mean, Ross County appointed, although it's Malky Mackay, which you know.
I think you were going to get on.
I think I'd rather have Neil Lennon back than Malky Mackay. Although it's him, at least he was appointed in a matter of hours.
Yeah, I think it was a day or two between John Hughes leaving and Mackay
it was the
joining.
next day
It's just not something that I don't understand that sheer incompetence of the board. Like, if you can't blame the players for gambling for blowing the 10 out, it's purely the board's fault. And then they're going, oh well, there's a lot of changeover at the board. You know, like we're swapping. You know, the whole board's switching out. You know, Peter Law's guys are going. New guys are Dominic Mackay's guys are in. Why wasn't Dominic Mackay, if he knew he was going to be the new Celtic CEO, why was he not pushing for the deal before he was like officially confirmed? You know, like there's so many people that get tapped, like managers that are tapped up, and like Tuchel was tapped up at Chelsea before Lampard was even sacked. Why, if they knew the season was going awful, they should have had some sort of contingency plan, because it'll be John Kennedy will be playing our Champions League qualifiers, and we'll get knocked out in the first round. I know exactly what's going to happen, and at this point, it's just incompetent on top of incompetent on top of incompetent.
I just want to come in though, Andy. Right, like your club's released a press statement saying we're going to continue our manager search, and you're assuming that they haven't got anyone else ready. It could just be that they're saying manager search is a general term.
Okay, but after 100 days, you surely would be able to get a manager.
After that much time, you'll have already done interviews with several.
But if those candidates have heard that Eddie Howe was in Glasgow to sign the deal and then didn't sign, they might not sign because they're going, oh, well, I was second choice. She told me, like, you know?
But it might spur one on to take the deal, knowing that, like.
But if they were interviewing, they were probably interested in the job. Like, imagine you go for a job at McDonald's and they say, actually, you're not McDonald's quality, and then they phone you back and say, actually, someone that was going to join our team has decided they're not gonna. Would you like to come work for McDonald's again? You know, like it's the same for any job, as football manager or not.
That's an insult, practically. That, you know, it's.
I'll agree it's an insult, but whoever comes into Celtic, you know, like.
But the fans will know their second choice as well, which means they'll be far harsher on a new manager as well.
The current bookie's favourite is Ange Postecoglou, who's managed Brisbane Roar and Melbourne Victory in the A-League. He's managed the Australian national team, and he's currently managing in Japan with Yokohama F. Marinos. He's won, a couple of Australian titles. He's won the Asian Cup with Australia, and he's won the J-League with Marinos. But that's not the type of, like, yes, it's a manager doing well and winning the odd trophy, but is that the type of manager that Celtic want? Is that the type of manager they're trying to?
No, Celtic want a project. I mean, I can't say he's a project manager or not. I know absolutely nothing about him. And the last time Celtic had managers that they knew absolutely nothing about, it's not gone the greatest. Which is, I mean, we've had some hit and misses. You know, we had Ronnie Dyla, who was treated far too harshly by the fans. But I don't know if that's looking back on nostalgia. I mean, he did get humped at home by MK Maribor in his first match, so we'll see about that. But there's been, I don't understand how this man has jumped to the top of the shortlist. You know, he wasn't even available when because the J-League season was still going on when Neil Lennon left his post. So this guy has clearly just finished this J-League season a month ago, right? He's gone, actually, I've been here 3 years, I'm not going to renew my contract. He's now available. And Celtic have literally gone on Transfermarkt, searched available managers, checked what they were getting paid at their old clubs and gone, oh, we can afford that. They have... If this guy has reached the top of the pile, like the other managers they were talking to, other than Eddie Howe, were people like Roy Keane, what they're doing is they're absolutely scraping the barrel at this point. They've clearly got no money that they're willing to spend on a manager. But Gerrard is making absolute wallets full, right? Like, Gerrard will be making, what, 2 mil a year, maybe? And Celtic clearly aren't, because that's about what Rodgers was making. And I remember when Gerrard signed, he said he wanted to make what Rodgers made, and apparently that's what Rangers board has decided. So they're clearly absolutely not going to splash the bucket, which is probably why Eddie Howe didn't sign. They're probably underwaging him, giving him less than what he was getting at Bournemouth, and also means they're not going to back him in the transfer window. So at this point,
it's not even.
I'll just take
not
anyone.
even like,
I'll just take a manager.
Yeah, but it seems to be like your board's going for anyone who's got a Celtic connection. So, with the exception of Eddie Howe, like Roy Keane played for Celtic. This guy at Yokohama Marinos has managed.
In fact,
no,
he's had nothing to do with Celtic at all.
He would have managed Tom Rogic when he was the Aussie manager.
Oh
yeah, he's managed Tom Rogic. I mean, Sam, I'm sure you said that he'd managed Shinsuke Nakamura, but Shinsuke Nakamura plays for Yokohama FC.
The other Yokohama side, yeah.
And I was going to kind of jump in on that there and say that like there's obviously a link to Shinsuke Nakamura, but there's not. It just seems to be like it's
met him at a pub in Yokohama.
They're just looking for like anybody.
He's just kind of standing around that pub.
Honestly, I would take Shinsuke Nakamura to be our manager. You know what? Like,
I mean, you probably could. The man is 42 though, and still playing.
He's still kicking. He's got an asteroid named after him. Asteroid 29986 Shunsuke is named in his honor. More you know.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, this like to go back to the Celtic thing. I do now. I agree with Andy. Like, it does seem to be like, let's go on Transfermarkt, see who's available, and then they're looking at like Jose Mourinho. Well, not so much Mourinho now because Mourinho's now at Roma, but like they're going to look at like Zinedine Zidane and be like, can't afford him. And then it's like, I don't know,
Conte can't afford him.
Lampard can't afford him. Allegri's gone now. Conte can't afford him. Favre is out the budget. Spalletti out the budget.
This random
Peter
guy.
Bosz has just left Leverkusen, but the guy that's just come into Leverkusen job, Celtic could have actually gone for. I mean, Roberto Moreno, got Jardim, Jurgen Klinsmann,
you could have went for
Sanchez Flores.
Klinsmann at Celtic, I am down.
AVB is still available, still on the market. Eddie Howe's popping up.
Busy rallying cars, isn't he, AVB?
Mark Van Bommel.
I'm telling you now, right?
Patrick
I would have loved, had he not went to Fiorentina, I would have loved to have seen Gattuso.
Gattuso played for Rangers, so I doubt he would have gone to Celtic.
Never would have gone to Celtic. But,
yeah, he played for Rangers. He said Rangers was the best part of his career as well. Apparently, Gaza used to play pranks on him all the time. So I doubt he would have gone to Celtic.
What do you think of Ryan Christie?
Ryan Christie will be going in. So his deal ends in January, right? Because he never signed a new deal, which means after the 1st of June, clubs are able to talk to him about joining in the January transfer window for free, which means you've just lost a player you've pummeled money into to develop, right? Who is in the prime of his career at 26. The season previous to this, and his best goal haul ever, is going to be leaving on a free.
Especially if he has a good Euros, clubs are going to want him as well.
That is absolute mismanagement by the board. All they need to do is even give him 6 more months on a contract so he doesn't go on a free. It's just mismanagement is an understatement. Actually, it's complete shambles.
But that's the same. That's the same with Motherwell with Alan Campbell and Declan Gallagher. We could have had them gone on new contracts and made a lot of money on them, and now not so much Alan Campbell. He hasn't even been called up for the under-21 squad, but then he is injured. So
the highest
makes sense. But the Gallagher thing, like, if Gallagher has a solid Euros for Scotland, he's going to be worth a fortune, because that always happens after a major international tournament.
Well, exactly. It inflates their price. This is the good thing about Scotland into their first international tournament for a while is the players that play in the SPFL can actually go for some money We're not going to get fleeced by England again. Like, the amount of times our players are just getting sold for pennies, right, to England because, they're just Scottish players, But now, like, we can actually put our wang on the table and fight for our, no, I'm not just taking $1 million. I want 5 million.
It's not even just that. It's like, look at some of the mad transfers that happen after a European Championship. Like Moussa Sissoko to Spurs after Euro 2016?
After Euro 2016, he went for 30 million. No way.
30 million from Newcastle.
He's ever worth 30 million. There is no way he's ever been worth 30 million. But because he had good Euros.
Ollie McBurney was playing in England. Therefore, that made him worth 25 million. Like,
so you've got players like Ollie McBurney, who's now rumoured to go to Rangers.
For 15 million.
15 million pounds.
Record.
Like other mad transfers that happen after tournaments. You had Johan Bakash coming to Brighton, and I'm sure they paid a good bit of money for him. Obviously, Moussa Sissoko, for an Iranian player that was playing for
PSV.
Was it PSV or AZ? PSV. So, like, you've got that, and then, like, when you think about it, other like players that you've sort of had amazing seasons, like amazing tournaments, and then just go into another club. Scotland's got a really nice lineup, like Andy said. Like, imagine David Marshall has like the tournament of his life.
Well, he is 37, so
I know he's 30. I know he's 37, but like. So maybe not the best example.
He's probably got like 2 or 3 years left in him.
True, exactly. I mean, Buffon's 42 now, probably in the Italy squad still.
Okay, well, let's maybe not think like that maybe was a bad example. How about Che Adams? Che Adams has a phenomenal Euro 2020. Southampton then get offers in for like 25 million.
You could get if he has a phenomenal tournament, 35 mil. United might bid for him,
35, 40, I reckon.
Yeah.
If he had a good tournament.
If Che Adams scores 4 goals, right, in the groups, he'd go for 40 million. It'd be 10 million per goal he scores in the groups. Genuinely.
It is filling me with confidence.
Anyone who scores against England will get 10 million added to their transfer fee.
By Steve Clark. It will be a sub clause in the contract.
By fucking transfer marked. Like, because, the English national team's the best in the world. That's why they've never won a Euros.
Should we move on?
I want to move on slightly quickly to Ross County, who are almost as much of a joke as Celtic are. They've released quite a few of their starters, so including Geraint Hilton, Jason Naismith, Ian Vigurs as well, along with 7 others. And they've appointed Malky Mackay as their new manager. Hasn't had a management job in 6 years.
Well, he did have that brief stint after Alex McLeish got sacked, before Steve Clark came in, where he was the Scotland manager. Or was it after Strachan got sacked and before McLeish?
It was after Strachan got sacked, yeah. But, like, this is a man who is just the worst.
A prick.
Just a cretin, yeah. Obviously,
I think the worst is an understatement.
I think everyone
he's a
knows
racist.
Racist.
He's a racist.
To be fair, he'd be probably quite popular in Inverness. But the
Andy.
No, I mean, Malky Mackay has that stint at Cardiff. That's about it. And also, what the Malky Mackay thing doesn't matter at all. Sacking your manager, your assistant manager, his whole management team, and then sacking your captain, your vice captain, and just
top
half your players. Well. How could that possibly go down well? Like, the fans should be there tearing the stadium apart.
They should be. The management team at Ross County were really good. Like,
and went from the nicest guy in football to the least.
Yeah, to genuinely, it's like hiring Jesus to fire him and then just hire the Antichrist of football. Like, I'm sorry, Malky Mackay is a just like there's no word to describe Malky Mackay.
He's a wet wipe of a man.
He is a horrible person, and why such a family-orientated club?
The statement they put out was, "We want to keep the club's values," and then the day after, "Oh yes, here's our new manager,
Malky Mackay."
We want to keep the club's values of inclusion and diversity and gender equality. We'll hire Malky Mackay, a man who stands for neither of those three things. It's madness. It's absolute madness. And he's not had a job in years. And was he really that good at Cardiff? No. Scotland, you can't really judge him on because no Scotland manager.
It gives me, you know what it reminds me of? I love democracy. I love the Republic.
Yeah.
Gives me vibes to that.
It's just the worst thing. And I know we were hating on Hamilton last season, but I really want County to go down because, this next season coming up, because what they've done is just awful in so many ways.
I just want that club, and this is nothing against Ross County. I think Ross County is actually a very well run, very good, proper.
As of a week ago.
As of a week ago, yeah.
As of
about a week ago.
They were a very good, very kind of structured and well run club. All credit to Ross County for I'm sure I read something that the entire population of Dingwall would have a seat.
Could fit inside my arse.
Fuck's sake.
But they could fit inside the ground. It's not they're not a Rangers or a Celtic where they've got a big supporter base and there's a good board behind them. They're very family run club.
Yeah.
Very local run, proper grassroots kind of club. But the players that have left the club have just totally damaged them. So obviously the captain's gone, the vice captain's gone. Lee Irwin went to St Mirren. They've lost so many good players, and then the management team in turn's also gone. It just doesn't make any sense. So for me, I just really hope that they have a bad run of form so Malky Mackay gets sacked. That's the dream here. It's not to this season for me is the dream isn't watch Motherwell get top six. It's not watch Hamilton go further and further down the Championship and into League One where they belong. It's get Malky Mackay sacked by any means possible.
Sorry, just looking at available managers, and someone's just freshly become available. Who I think would be fantastic coup for Celtic. Zoran Mamic, who is the obviously ex-Croatia international, was one of their key players of them getting to the semi-finals of World Cup '98. But also, he just left his post at Dynamo Zagreb after walking the league. Obviously, masterminded that win over Spurs in the Europa League. Just become available. He also got his UEFA Pro license coaching in Ayrshire in Scotland.
Yeah,
so
a lot of managers did their UEFA Pro licensing in Ayrshire. I think it was in Largs as well.
Yeah, it's in Largs.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho did that.
Andre Villas-Boas as well. But could be an absolute coup for.
You're doing a better job than this in the Celtic board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I really think.
I doubt he'll be considered by the club, but I don't see why not. I mean, walks the league with Dynamo Zagreb. He's the only club he's actually managed at, other than a stint at Al Nassr, Al Hilal, and Al Ain in Saudi Arabia.
That is how Rangers got Pedro Caixinha, because he was managing out in the Middle East. So
yeah. However, he won the league in all three of those teams. So he's an average points per game across his managerial career of 2.25, which is better than Neil Lennon's 1.93.
Yeah, that is definitely something Celtic should be looking at, and you've done a better job of shortlisting than the Celtic board.
Well, if they're using their strategy of people who have become available in the last fucking week, then I could do that for them.
I'll move on now to a quick quiz. I've only got 3 questions, but I think we've been moaning on about stuff all, the entire time. So, with both Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League qualifiers next season, the last time that both Old Firm teams got into the Champions League group stage. That's
What would it be?
2010.
2009-10? 9-10 season?
The last season, no. It wasn't 9-10, no.
10-11.
8-9. 8-9. It's got to be around there.
No.
4-5?
It is around. Okay, it is around there, but it wasn't that season.
11-12.
No.
Rangers did not exist in the 11-12 season.
It was 12-13 that they died.
Well, I mean, they weren't
11-12.
allowed to qualify for Europe in the 11-12 season.
7-8.
It is 7-8, yeah.
7-8. Oh.
So Celtic were drawn in a group with Milan, Benfica, and Shakhtar, and got to the knockout stages. And
Was that when we got knocked out by Juve, or?
I'll scroll down in a second and find out. And then Rangers were in the group with Barcelona, Lyon, and Stuttgart, and they finished third, and then went on to go to the UEFA Cup final that season.
Europa League final against Zenit.
And
UEFA Cup at that point.
Yeah, UEFA Cup.
UEFA Cup.
Celtic were knocked out by Barcelona in the round of 16.
Barcelona.
Would that have been? No, that wouldn't have been that.
That wouldn't have been the Tony Watt one, no.
No, Tony Watt was in the group stage in 2012-13.
13, yeah.
And obviously that's when we got knocked out by Juve in the round of 16. But it was the 99-00 season that we knocked out Juve 4-3 in Turin. That was a fantastic. 4-3 at Celtic Park. It was a fantastic game. So it was 1-1 in Turin. We knocked them at 4-3 at Celtic Park. Absolute zinger of a game. I think Chris Sutton got a hat trick, and he just one of the best goals of all time. He just absolutely scores a thunder cunt against them.
To another man who's been at Celtic and he's won every single final he's been. It's Brendan Rodgers. I want you to name what trophies he's won. He's won
Betfred Cup.
He's
Scottish
won
Cup.
9 in total, and I want to.
Did he win 9 in total?
9
so he's won two Scottish League titles.
He's won in which seasons?
In the season 16-17 and 17-18.
Yep.
He won the Scottish Cup and the League Cup in both those seasons, and then he won another.
Marcus said them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Marcus.
And then he also won the League Cup with Swansea.
No, he wasn't there at the time. That was
right.
Like Laudrup at the time at Swansea,
okay.
So it wasn't there.
Did he win the?
Did they then win a League Cup the season he left? Maybe.
No.
Did he win the Northern Irish Premiership with somebody?
No, he's never managed in Northern Ireland.
Does he know? All right.
He's only managed in England. Reading was he's managed at Reading and Watford and Swansea, then Liverpool, then Celtic, then Leicester. FA Cup at Leicester. FA Cup at Leicester.
Lewis has been trying to say that for about 7 years, so I'll give it to him.
There was FA Cup at Leicester, and then was there not a Carabao Cup at Liverpool?
No,
that was the Capital One Cup back then.
This isn't.
Yeah,
it's a final, but it's not a major
Championship playoff final.
Championship playoff
for
final
Swansea.
In what year?
2009-10.
No.
10-11?
10-11, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give you that one. I'll give you a point for each of those. And so obviously this season, Rangers have won their 55th league title.
First.
Waiting for that. But when did Rangers win their 44th league title?
1991.
87.
No.
1991.
No, wait, because they done 9, right. So they done 9 in a row, and then
it was part of the 9 in a row. I'll give you that.
Part of the 9 in a row. So
it would have been 94.
94, yeah, bang on.
Yeah, because their first one in the run was 41. It's 41, 42, 43, 44. Yeah, so it would have been 1994 was number 4 in the, which was title 44.
Yeah, so I'll give you half points for each of the Brendan Rodgers' trophy. So we've got a joint second. We've got Marcus and Lewis with 1.5.
Nice.
And then Andy has 3.5.
Yeah.
I've only had 3 questions. It's the only ones I made up.
It was a tight quiz.
Tight quiz. Marcus doesn't want, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
And so Kyle is not here today. He's out down in London getting drunk probably. So we won't have the final predictions for the Scottish League season. We won't have the final results for that just yet. But we'll start with some Euros predictions, and I'll send them across to him because the Euros coming up. We're doing predictions for those. And there's a few warm-up games that are happening in the next couple of weeks. But I think you guys wanted to also predict the Champions League final as well, which is tomorrow. So we'll start with that one: Manchester City versus Chelsea.
I said this before we started recording, and I'm going to stick with it. 1-1 in full time and extra time, and Chelsea to win in pens.
I mean, I want City to win, but I think Chelsea will win 1-0.
Yeah.
Lewis?
I know I said all that stuff about Thomas Tuchel earlier, but I'm gonna say 1-0 City. I feel like Marcus's prediction is good as well, and I feel like everyone's prediction's good, but I just think that with the whole Aguero thing, like not wanting to leave, it's really hard to call. But he did say he didn't want to leave till he wins the Champions League, so I'm going to say 1-0 Man City.
I'm going to
Sergio Aguero.
I'm going to go similar to Marcus, but I'm going to say City on penalties. After a 1-1 draw, it's going to be a tough one to call. Obviously, just the Scottish Football Podcast, but obviously it's the biggest game in Europe, so we might as well, predict it. And then the first of Scotland's warm-up games is against the Netherlands on Wednesday.
I hate to say it, but I'm going to say 2-1 to Nederland. It'll be close, but I'd be happy with 2-1.
I think I'll agree with Marcus. I think it'll be Scotland will score first. That'll be great, and pints will be going in the air, and then the Netherlands will just peg us back in the second half. So they got one right. They'll get one right before half time, and then they'll score another one late into the second half.
It'll be a repeat of Mexico versus Netherlands in 2014. I'll be getting flashbacks to that. My team goes up 1-0 and then cheating buggers come back. But
you're saying 2-1 as well, Andy?
Yeah, 2-1.
I think I'm going to go with 3-1 to the Netherlands, but yeah, I do think that Scotland will score first, but because I think Van Dijk is out, so obviously the Netherlands aren't as strong defensively, so Scotland could go in and score, but I think they'll have too much going forward. Lewis?
3 to the Oranje.
3-0, you say?
3-0 to the Netherlands.
Another warm-up game on that day is we've got it's a tight one between Germany and Denmark. See, Denmark, one of Scotland's rivals in the World Cup qualifying.
2-0 Germany. 2-0.
I think I'm going to go with... No, I'm going to go with Denmark 2-1. Because...
0-0.
You're going to go with 0-0.
Aye, this is... I think 0-0. This is 0-0 written on it. This is waste of time to watch.
I mean, we're these teams are all going to rotate as well. I think we're probably...
Yeah.
Denmark are one of those teams that has a fantastic first 11, and that's about it. And they're not going to risk injuries before the tournament. So
yeah,
Germany currently gets goals.
Do they with Timo Werner up front? Do they get goals?
Yeah, that's my argument. Like, it's Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, and Serge Gnabry are kind of their key players there. I suppose maybe Leroy Sané, Marco Reus, but like if Havertz and Timo Werner are playing Champions League final, they're not going to play them against Denmark that quick because they won't want to risk taking out their main striker. So now that's why I'm going with a 0-0.
Maybe Gundogan. I don't know if Gundogan still plays for the
Yeah,
national team anyway, but
no. He didn't pull an Ozil. No, he is still committed to the German national team, I think.
They'll probably have to play like Philip or someone like that, or who else could they have as a striker actually?
I mean, the German national team's one of those that like they tend to rotate all the time just because they have such a wealth of players. So
who else could they put up front?
I think they rotate because Loto's lost it, and he's just sending whatever he can out on the pitch
just to see if somebody wants to come and play good.
Volland, I forgot about Volland.
Kevin Volland, I thought he was a bit past it.
He's at Monaco now, I think. And the last one of the warm-up games is going to be quite good for Scotland to watch. It's one of the group rivals against one of the World Cup qualifier rivals. It's England versus Austria.
Oh, Money Austria, 2-1 Austria.
5-0 Austria, 3-1 Austria. I think England love a bad night.
You know what? I think because a lot of the English players, obviously the Chelsea and the Man City ones, and maybe even the Man United ones as well, they will be probably rested for this game.
Yeah.
So you're just coming off those European finals. So I'm gonna say 2-2. I'll go with 2-2.
Mondo Österreich.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that actually. 1-0 Österreich.
Das. You can summon out. Like, obviously, for people who don't know, I'm studying at an Austrian uni right now, but I'm not there. So that's my affinity for Austria. But you know, when the national team play, right, they've got what is it called? It's they play like classical music as the team's entrance because it's like that's their whole deal in Austria.
Anyway, guys, that will be the end of the podcast for today. I think we got a bit off track there, but yeah, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week for our big Euro preview pod. But before then, thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next week. We'll see you then.
See ya.
Bye.
The False 90s podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, and our website at false90s.wordpress.com. For updates, follow False 90s on both Twitter and Instagram. And a big thank you to Fransisco Aluear and his track Space Game, which is our theme tune.
Guys, stick on the Mozart.
It's like we've got Proclaimers and bits and pieces, and then the Mexicans, like we've got Cielito Lindo, I forgot the name of it, and then they've got like classical music and at least football thing you could put on.
Yeah.
Do the Italians not come out to? This is going to sound really, really offensive if they don't. But did the Italians not come out to like Pavarotti or something?
Probably. I mean,
Or was that just a BBC ploy in the 90s for Italia 90 just playing Nessun Dorma?
Play Pavarotti and repeat. Oh yeah, that's Italian enough.
They just come out to the Mario theme tune.